Hi everyone, I'm Anna from Product Management Festival. Thank you for joining us today for this live webinar series on the hidden insights in product management based on Product Management Festival's Trends and Benchmarks in PM 2019 report. The host of today's webinar is Timo Wagenblatt, Head of Product S4HANA Cross Engineering at SAP and founder of PYPR Software Product Management. At the end of this webinar, we invite you to send your questions to Timo in the chat box on the left side of your YouTube window. I'd like to now give the word to Timo. Thank you all and enjoy this webinar.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to this live webinar where we detail the Trends and Benchmarks report and insights that we have found. As you see here, it's actually part 2. So if you missed part 1, please look up in YouTube, listen to Adrian. Trends and Benchmarks report. So today, as said, we talk about the Product Management Trends and Benchmark Report 2019. The full version is available now. And in the full version, you see the results of more than 1,000 product managers that responded to the survey across the globe. We compiled all this data in many charts, more than 80 charts, and structured it in areas such as product, process, and methods, which is the topic of today's session, but also in topics like people, career path, salaries, and organizational measures. If you would like to download the report, if you have not done so far, please do so. You can find the link here or on the Product Management Festival website. The report obviously is for free, and as a favor, I would ask you right away next time for the Trends and Benchmarks Report 2020. If you have not participated in the survey last time, please do so the next time. So with that, a few words about Product Management Festival. So basically, we are a group of people who would like to foster product management community development. We do that in various formats, like product management nights or meetups, which are on a regular level in many cities across the world. We are also doing executive summits across the world, where we have one globally in Zurich just before we start the conference, the flagship conference in Zurich in November this year. And we have the Trends and Benchmarks, which we share with the community for free, which is the topic of today. What you see here is basically just some faces to the people who are behind, and there's actually many more. This is only the conference board of the Europe conference. There's also a conference board for Asia Pacific. If you're interested into the people who are behind, again, everyone is listed at the Product Management Festival homepage, including some short bio if you would like to know who we are. And as you can see, basically we are product managers like you are likely, and we are keen to get into to foster the community development. Let's get now into the topic of process, vision, decisions, methods, and tools, this part of the Trends and Benchmarks report. I would like to go into different aspects and share my view about the product decision aspects of the survey, process, product vision, success criteria, the frameworks, methods that we use, and also some common product management practices. So without further ado, let's go into the area of product decisions. As we all know, product management and product development requires making tons of decisions. There's so many decisions out there that we have to ask ourselves about the effectiveness of decisions. Are we enabled to make the right decisions, and who actually is making the product decisions? So as product managers, we all need to make decisions, and actually that's what we would like to do. So we are product managers because one of the things that we like to do is making decisions and having an impact on our products. We make decisions about backlog items or about the product vision, about the product strategy, about the time we invest as a team or the time we invest actually also as an individual, as a product manager. Where do we spend our time? And many more things. So what you see here is the results of the product manager. So we ask product managers. Just remember that. Obviously, there might be a bias if you would ask colleagues in development or designers or quality. This might be a bit different, but this is about product management. So on the top left, first of all, what you see is the product decision makers are product management organizations and product managers, which is actually not a big surprise. Hopefully, it is not a big surprise. What you also see is that most product managers out there are actually empowered and have the ability to make the necessary decisions. The vast majority on operational level, but also increasingly product managers are able to make decisions on a strategic level, which is quite important if you are true product managers for a product manager for your product. There's also 5% of the respondents said, oh, we are not able to take any decisions, which is actually bad. And you might think about whether you actually are really a product manager or whether your organization actually values product management, just as a side comment. That's quite important to change this. Otherwise, you might not be really the product manager, but rather someone doing some work in product. On the decision-making effectiveness, some of you might have listened to another webinar that happened actually yesterday, which is a partnership between PMF and INSEAD. So Noah Askin talked about the executive program and the importance of social capital. If you look at the decision-making authority, 2/3 actually of the product managers said they rely on their personality and influence, so no official authority, which is very normal for product managers. Normally, we are not line managers, HR managers. So the social power and, as Noah said yesterday, the likability of you actually will help to make the right decisions and influence the product teams, management, any stakeholder into the right direction for the better of the product. Some product managers also have official authority, and this correlates somehow to the data in terms of what position did the respondents have in the organization. So we had also obviously founders from smaller companies who are kind of the head of product, and also managers of product managers responding to the survey. And in terms of how are decisions made, so I'm actually quite happy to see that there is a formal process for most of us using prioritization criteria, which are hopefully defined up front and not ad hoc. And we use data and analytics to make product decisions. So with that, I would like to go to the next topic, which is process overall. And now starting on the right side, product management processes have different sources. And the vast majority of the product management processes that we use in our organizations today are created by ourselves, by the team. In my view, this actually makes tons of sense because we all live in our own context in terms of organization, in terms of product. And at the end, it's all about, in my view, also the people who are working in the organizations, who are working on the product, and who are working in a certain process. So if you look on the left side now, we ask, what's the effectiveness of the current process that you follow, if you have a process, in your organization? And we separated this question into getting new products, introducing new products, which might also be new modules of your existing products, and ongoing products, so established products that are in the market. And as you can see here is product management processes overall are an area that requires improvement. If you look at these numbers, less than 45% of the respondents stated that their processes work fine for existing products, and less than 35% would rate the processes for new products to be good. So that's not really a lot. We have to all work towards better processes, to look after improvements in our existing processes, and always keep our eyes and mind open to find ways to improve for the better of the team, for the better of our products, and with that of our organizations. If you also see here that sometimes there is processes, but well, process is a process, who cares? Which sometimes might be okay, but not in general. There needs to be some reliability. And 1/3 of the people actually said, we plan to define a process, lightweight process, to introduce new products to the market, which is a good sign. And this also shows the importance that this is an area that definitely needs some improvement. I actually do not talk a lot about outdated processes, because for me, outdated or not followed is actually the same category. There is a process which is nice for someone, but it's not a process that is living. And processes that are not living are not important. So in the prioritization process, that actually is another insight. If you look at process effectiveness, product managers prioritize, again, to vast majority based on the experience and gut feeling. And there, in the prioritization process, they do not follow a structured process, which is some food for thought. So yes, we have a process, we have certain steps and milestones, how we get products to market, how we get new features to the market. However, when it comes to prioritizing features, prioritizing time, very often rely on experience and gut feeling, which just doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just saying maybe it's something to watch as well. And we also asked in the survey about where do product managers actually spend their time the most. And we asked in a way that look into your calendar, into the last 4 to 8 week period, and what actually did you do? Where did you spend most time? And we will detail this in another webinar. For this purpose, actually, product managers, first of all, said number one is we do ad hoc requests, firefighting, like a quarter of our time, which might go back to not having a structured process for prioritization, some food for thought for maybe another webinar. But for now, I would like to focus on product vision and strategy work, where we spend around about 10% of our time. So in product vision and strategy, good news first. Product managers, product teams, product management departments are responsible for defining the vision and strategy. And the data somehow underlines that this is common sense. So if you go even to like a standard Scrum training and you ask for the role of a PO, you will hear the PO normally should be responsible for the vision and the prioritization of the backlog or end of the product. Also, I think makes tons of sense that if you have a product vision, actually this should also influence your roadmap and backlog prioritization. So for the 11% who said it does not influence, maybe consider whether either your prioritization is okay or your vision is not up to date. Also, another, in my view, interesting fact is the update frequency, or the review, not update, the review frequency of the product strategy and vision. And people are not back to where we do yearly plans, but reviews of, are we still on the right track? Is our North Star still the right thing to follow? So people are just looking into it like constantly, which is like less than 1 month. People, product managers, think about, take all the data they get, all the insights from customers, from analysts, from whomever, to constantly think about and review, are we still following the right goal? That's good. Now, what was really surprising to us in this survey was that if you review your strategy and your vision, and if you even change your strategy and your vision, or you update it, so we product managers somehow make a mediocre job in communicating these updates. So if on the left side we say our product vision has an influence how we prioritize, and on the right side, even the core product team, only half of them get to know that we changed our strategy or updated our vision, and that's obviously could lead or could be a root cause for misalignments or wrong expectations or many more unwanted side effects. So think about that. So I think it's great that people constantly think about and reviewing product strategy and vision. But as you get into updates, please inform the relevant team members and stakeholders. I think that's quite important and will also hopefully ease some pain that might be there just because someone was not informed, or there's some misalignment, or it's not clear why decisions and prioritizations are made in a certain way. So let's now look into next topic, which is product success. First of all, so like 81% of the respondents said that they measure success of their products. So 81%, it doesn't mean 100%. And maybe that's also, if you looked at the data, it corresponds to sometimes people answered stating their product is still in a very early stage in ideation or in trying to find product market fit. So that's somehow makes sense. Still, there probably is some measure to and some data to understand whether you're progressing in the right direction. You see here like common success metrics, like some metrics that everyone would expect, like revenue or profit or number of customers, meaning adoption, or whether people use the product, and that's all fine. For me, being a B2B product manager, market share obviously is also important, and not just market share, but also growing faster than competition. I just would like to emphasize this one key metric here as being important in my view, because you can still say, well, we're growing 10%, but if your competition is growing faster, this might be kind of a leaky bucket for you and your product. Also, quite interestingly, that product managers normally are like the face of the product, right? However, their personal performance measurements is only for half of the product managers. This is tied to the product success, which I think is an interesting fact just to be mentioned. The higher you are up in the hierarchy or by your role, the more you actually see that the success metrics of the product is also tied to your personal performance measurement. What I think is really nice to see is that product success is attributed to the entire organization. We didn't ask for product failure. However, product failure very often is attributed to the product managers. And that's okay, because we are finally accountable and responsible for the products. So, and as the product manager, you're also the most senior executive of your product, or of your product module, or of the process that you represent. And therefore, I think it's okay that as the product manager, you are the firewall to protect the team, because failure is not bad if you get a learning. So next thing I would like to focus on is what actually are the frameworks and methods that we use in product management. And number one by far is Scrum, Agile, Kanban, which is a good sign. So still waterfall development as a development methodology, 1/3 of the respondents are in the waterfall world, which is interesting to know, because if you read today books and blogs and listen to webinars like this one, no one talks about waterfall really anymore. Nevertheless, that's still there. And for life critical systems, this might also be the right way of work. But you also see here, just looking here, on user research being high up, lean startup, MVP, quite high up, design sprints, A/B testing, all of these methods or processes or frameworks are pretty standard and used. And I would like to now correlate this to what are product managers doing. And this time, not about vision and strategy, but interacting with customers. For me, this 7% of our time we spend interacting with customers is somehow strange, honestly. For me personally, this was like, I was actually not clear whether this data is correct. And in my teams, I normally ask or inspire, hopefully, the product managers in my teams to talk to customers way more frequently, to understand their needs, to get feedback directly from the customers and not via other indirect channels. I think it's really interesting, and maybe it's just food for thought, why some of the satisfaction levels with these methods and processes are not as high as they could be. So, for example, 1/3, they are okay with user research and lean startup MVP design sprints. But this means 2/3 are not really okay and stated these could work better, or they do not work at all. Maybe we do not spend enough time with the customers in this. Well, we don't know. We just had the survey data, but that's some food for thought also for yourself. Whether you spend enough time with the ones who at the end really matter. We dig a bit deeper into the data, and I have a slide at the end, and if there's a question later, we can look it up. But actually, there's not really a significant difference between large and small companies, whether you work for a startup or whether you work for a company like SAP. The number was somehow the same. And there was also, again, at least surprising to me, not a significant difference between B2B products and B2C products. So I could understand, being a B2B product manager, that sometimes it's a bit harder to get to the real users of your product, but for B2C, likely this shouldn't be too hard. Another interpretation of the data we had, from my side is it seems like in user research, for example, we rely sometimes heavily on data. So we collect data where users click, what users use, what they sometimes even look at, but maybe we don't talk or listen, maybe even more important, to these customers. Again, food for thought, and I guess you know better whether you talk enough with your users and customers. So next up on the list is product management practice. Number of product managers managed. So this is more like generic facts that we collected around product, around processes and methods. First of all, only like a quarter of the product managers out there reported that they only manage one product. So some of them manage 2 to 4 products. By the way, as a disclaimer, we did not define what's a product, which is a topic on its own. However, if you're a product manager and you're managing more than 10 products, I'm not sure about this, honestly, whether this is really a product management role, at least in the way I would interpret product management. This might be some shared responsibilities of one aspect of product management, but it's, in my view, definitely not possible to be a product manager in a holistic way for more than 10 products. I even would doubt for 5 to 10 products. Another thing that's just, well, we have now the data, which might be common sense, but at least in our industry and mostly software product managers reported to the survey or responded to the survey. Most product managers or product teams release new features or also new product releases weekly and monthly and quarterly. So there is no longer the yearly release cycles, and also the 6-month release cycles are not really there anymore in these days, which I think is good, and maybe also corresponds a bit back to, with the rise or the high adoption of agile development methodologies. This one part here also is kind of interesting, as we always talk about new features, but sometimes maybe new features is not the right thing. How about removing features? Are we as product managers effective also to remove features? And as you can read here, the 26% reported back that they actually continuously change and remove unused features, which is, in my view, a good sign, because technical debt could really hurt the effectiveness of future developments overall. And it's a good sign, but this also means, as a consequence, you have to understand what are the unused features. So you have to really have good measures there. And also the value of the unused features. So if a feature is only used a couple of times, there might still be lots of value. If it's never used, well, then there is no doubt. So that's just some facts here, or some thoughts here. Also, you can see that very frequently teams or organizations are not able to remove features. So because of technical debt, sometimes because of legal problems or issues, because it's documented, it's clear, and it's part of the contract, despite it might not be used, or some people would just not care and just add new ones always. So the last part of this is then a bit unrelated, but just overall, we also asked the product managers, the product leaders out there, where do you see technology investment areas over the next 3 years? And Somehow also, with no surprise, AI, ML, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, by far on top. As probably most of us already work in this area and include these technologies into our products if they make sense. And we will continue with that, which again is somehow common sense, just we underlined it a bit with data from more than 1,000 people across the globe. Also, chatbots being pretty prominent, voice interfaces, 1/4 think about blockchain and a bit less about virtual reality. So all the common candidates. We might do in another webinar share what other technology investments are on the list in this category. I do not have the details currently with me. Good. So that actually is, in a nutshell, the piece of process and product out of the Trends and Benchmark report. I would like to tell you also about the upcoming events that are there. So like pretty soon, if you're in the Asia Pacific region, there is the PMF Singapore conference at the INSEAD Asia campus. And back in November, we have the large event, a large conference in Zurich. If you would like to meet in person, there is some product management nights coming up in June, like one in Amsterdam, one in Zurich, one in Heidelberg. You find all of these also at the Product Management Festival homepage once more. And there's even more. And as you can see, it's getting really global, and there's many product management nights currently. So last month we had one in Mannheim, we had one in Stockholm, we had one in Berlin, and we had one in Vancouver. So there's across the globe opportunity to meet and have an impact on product management organizations. With that, I would like to open it up for question and answers.
Thank you, Timo, for sharing these insights with the audience. I'm just checking if we have questions coming in. Not for now.
Okay, so if there's no questions, what I could do is I prepared a bit of further insights which are not directly in the Trends and Benchmark report. And just to emphasize again the importance of interacting with customers. So we also asked about the team health. So we asked product managers, how would you rate the team health in terms of velocity, in terms of happiness and other factors. And the product managers who reported back that the team health is above 8 in a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being totally unhappy, 10 being super happy. So you could directly see that interaction with customers has an influence somehow on the team health. Maybe because just you get exposed more as a team with your customers who are actually using your product, or because you do the right things. So there's no, we didn't look into this into detail more, but it's just an interesting correlation in my view. So please use the chat window if you have another question that you would like to discuss, or if you just have a thought on some of the data. I would also be interested into your interpretation of the data. If there's no question yet, so
I have a question.
Okay.
If
thanks.
I may, I think everybody knows, and we at PMF as well, how important it is to talk to our customers, the challenges. How do we find time? Do you have any tip on how to just simply find the time in between? Because you saw in the chart that the main activities are what they are, firefighting and ad hoc and
so I think finding time obviously is I have not the silver bullet, but finding time is, in my view, very much correlated to really getting one step back and thinking about what really is important for the success of my product. And I know we all are in this spinning wheel, and there is always something to do, and there's tons of emails coming in and chat and whatever. However, maybe it's also okay to just ignore some of these for some hours and spend some time on what matters. So you have to think about what's currently important for product success. And maybe it's not important that you do another webinar or you do another PowerPoint and update, whatever. Maybe this is something for later, or it's not even really important. Just someone needs that from you, but it's not your objective or helpful for the product. And therefore, you might be able to carve out some time out of your busy day. Carve out some time that is probably more valuable for the success of the product. That's my advice now, but it's actually a complex topic. But saying no also helps sometimes. But you have to be careful with saying no.
Right. That saying no in the right way.
In the right way at the right time.
Thank you, Timo. I'm checking for questions. I don't think we have any coming, but that doesn't mean we are not open for these. You can send them to info@productmanagementfestival.com or directly to Timo. You can find him online.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Timo. I give the word to you for the closing.
No, thank you, everyone who joined today for the live webinar, and also for the ones who listen to the recording later on. Please stay in touch, stay in product management, as we really can make impact with the products we are working on, and have a great day. Thank you.